A biggity bounce back win for your Seattle Seahawks today as they go out on the road to that East Coast and that 10 a.m. time that used to be so scary and go out there and grab their 9th win in a row on the road. What a tremendous win it was at that, as there were a lot of question marks coming into this game. You were playing the very same brand of offense that you played last week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with a quarterback in Trevor Lawrence, who may not be a star for the position, but he is certainly capable and shown he can execute this offense and seems a good pairing with new coach Liam Cohen. And so Seattle was going to have to also come in with some of the components that contributed to some of the struggles last week defensively. The injury situation, down essentially 3/4 of your starting secondary. Could you answer the bell? Could Mike McDonald come up with some creative designs here to help out that unit a little bit? And the answer was yes and hell. Yes. First off here, the defense came out and really set the stage on this day in that first half, not only being stout and limiting the yardages from the Jacksonville Jaguars, taking apart the running game, which has been, regardless of whether or not they're giving up air yardage this season, they've been able to really, every opponent, be very stout against the run, something that I think is a very good indicator as we move forward, but also partially how they get to a place of turning in the kind of performance that they did today, because that then turned Jacksonville into a one-dimensional attack. And now we come down to, can you give that defense some creative things, Mike, to help them out along the path? And that's what he did today. In this game early on, much more stacked boxes, much more of the blitzing being milked in there. It's not getting, you don't have to run full tilt with it, but that you're just putting it in as much more of a counter punch to the fastball. And that's what they did, is they brought that out. It gave a little bit of confusion in there. It forced Lawrence to not be able to hit a spot. You'd see a receiver open. Lawrence couldn't quite get the ball into there because the pressure was mounting in on top of it. I think in tandem with Mike being willing to dial up a little bit more pressure-based looks today, you also saw that defensive line answer the call for pressure. It is one where there has been the ability to get some pressure here throughout the year. The sacks haven't always been coming, especially off the edge. The pressure hasn't always been super consistent game in and game out. Certainly last week it was a struggle. This week they came back and had their best game of the year, that front four, in generating pressure all across the board. Leonard Williams, tremendous from start to finish. His best play wasn't even a pass rush in this game. You give up a completion down the sideline. Ty Akata, I think, completely blows the tackle out in space at the sideline, somewhere about 20 yards up the football field from where you started at the line of scrimmage. And here comes Leonard Williams, that man that he reached like 18 miles per hour last year on the interception return against the Jets, flying up the football field to catch the receiver from behind, to bring him down, to preserve that situation so that you don't give up a touchdown. He was showing that kind of effort all over the game. And then you have Lawrence, DeMarcus Lawrence, tackle for losses, 2 sacks and a half. This was the kind of monster vintage Lawrence performance from the Cowboys that you can see when he is at his best, being that he is already going to be definitely a stout, upper end kind of run defender off the edge. But then he also has pass rush ability. Been a little quiet this year so far in that way in certain respects, but otherwise you're going to see a little bit more of this, I think, as we come forward with him, as long as he can stay healthy and that he does bring that to play. He's not going to be as quiet as he's been throughout this year in that part of his game. It's just not the best part of his game, which is defending the run, and you did feel that from him today, where he was able to be very successful getting the backfield and blowing some things up. There was a time in this game, about almost 3/4 of the way through, where I was starting to wonder, is Byron Murphy going to take this game over? Another one where out there getting sacks, out there getting tackles, tackle for loss, but just getting the consistent pressure. And what's interesting to watch on how he was generating that pressure in this game is it was coming at times from you moving Leonard Williams there into the 1 tech and then kicking Byron out to the 3 tech, giving him that one-on-one opportunity and seeing if he can hunt. And he did on one where he was able to create pressure off the back of a bull rush, came back on another running a little stunt loop twist action there with, I think it was DeMarcus Lawrence. But Byron Murphy is coming on slow but surely, and also confirming with us what we knew with him, is that when you can get him some more of those single blocks, he's going to get you all that much more production on the back of it. You even got Uchenna Nwosu kicking in a sack in this game. He was strong and also contributed some pressures down into this game. The defensive line really stepped up in this, not just creating pressures and some of those late pressures that we've kind of leaned on, but creating the quick pressures. Remembering, Lawrence wants to get the ball out of his hand quick. I thought Lawrence played a very good game from a Jacksonville Jaguar fan standpoint. He made some tremendous throws, some 4th down conversions. He's rolling to his right at one point in this game, throws back across his body, the Cardinals sin to the middle of the field, not even the middle of the field, to the far other side of the field, almost a horizontal type throw, and completes it somehow, some way. I thought he played a real strong football game, got let down by his receivers a couple times down at the end of the game, but the defense really does come back in this game and help take this one forward as a centerpiece show of why you got this win today. Much better on the tackling front than what we saw last week. Much better, I think, about maybe mixing up those coverages, not making this as predictable for that same offense you were facing. And everybody to a man, even your linebackers, safety's filling in. Akata probably played a little bit better game than where he was at last week. And Job stepped up, having Shaq Griffin back. 7 tackles in this game, but he just felt tighter in coverage than what you get from Nehemiah Pritchett out there. Even Drake Thomas got himself another sack working from the will position, and Ernest Jones doing what he does, which is eat up tackles and be very capable in the run game. He made a stop down on a 2-point conversion attempt by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that was just pure Ernest. Reading the play, where it's going, getting to the spot early on, and then making the tackle, whether there's a lineman hanging off of him or not. You saw a couple times in this game as well with Ernest that he was doing a good job of really sometimes setting up the play and instructing guys where to go and how to be, and that did stand out in this game. The last guy I just want to give a nod to, because again, it was a defensive performance that was really the team base of the unit really coming together, but guys within that multitude of guys really flashing. Nick Emenwari, the second-round pick, much hyped up, much ballyhooed by myself here coming through training camp. Had the kind of game that I think shows you why a lot of people feel like this kid could be a star on the rise in this league. Operating out of the slot, he was swallowing up blockers. I mean, he would just swallow them up and spit them out and get to the ball carrier. You've seen them do that already early on. He operates with a sense of aggression with his size because he's a bigger guy. And the thing to remember is that these slot receivers who are tending to be a little bit smaller as it is, they're going to tend to be facing a like kind of cat across from them on the other side in that slot. And so they're blocking weight on weight. I'm 190, you're 190, let's go. Here you got a guy that's like linebacker size that you're having to now try to block, and you can see that he can dispense justice and get that block laid away and get on top of that tackle in a heartbeat. He's also was good in this game in coverage, as you had times where I saw him even matched up on Brian Thomas out in space. Watch for Emenwari to continue to rise up within this defense as kind of that X factor that we didn't know if we were going to really have in full this year in this way, and especially if Witherspoon can get back healthy to work on the outside to better solidify things down here in this secondary, make it all kind of work together right. The offense was good today overall. I think from a couple places you feel really good. From other couple places you get a little frustrated. You don't think they did anything necessarily, I think, purely bad in this game. I think there's just a little bit of a general draw that we see at times when this team gets the lead here early on in this year so far, for them offensively to get a little conservative into the second half and allow them to take that foot off the gas and the other teams to kind of get back in the game. And look, they didn't lose the game. It didn't cost them in this one. You do worry about it maybe into the future if they lean too hard in this versus allowing this offense to just keep cooking, and especially one Sam Darnold. The man I call a dime store cowboy showed it off again today why this was maybe one of the best signings, if not the best signing in John Schneider's history in free agency, because this guy seems to continue to appear to be taking his game to yet another level. He came in as one of the best quarterbacks in the sport from efficiency standpoint, if not a number one, and he leaves it all the more the same. A day again where you didn't have really anything close to what we can call a cogent running game. There wasn't anything working. It was really a struggle to get that 3 yards in a cloud of dust, and it's got to frustrate Kubiak because he's wanting to get into these third down and makeables, yet he can't with his run blocking at times, and with the amount that teams are stacking the box, get the opportunities to get into third makeables because the running game's getting eaten whole early on the downs, contributing to Seattle living in 3rd and 8, living in 3rd and 9, living in 3rd and 10. It's hard to convert those into first downs. Those are drive killers as much as anything else. And it's been a commonality for the Seattle Seahawks. And I think that's frustrating because you're thinking, hey, I'm already in my conservative nature of this. I'm limiting a little bit of my explosiveness on the early downs to try to get this running game going. It's not quite there. I think I like the fact they're committed to it, and eventually it'll come around to, I think, being better for Seattle down the road, especially as we get into a winter season when the run game can start to step a little bit more far forward. But you do get frustrated too, Hawk fan wise, and I hear it from my people in the chat when it comes down to seeing Sam doing so well in this game, throwing great balls and just the right spots on time, the decision making correct. You did have the really nice pass pro, so we can hammer the offensive line all we want about maybe not opening up as many holes for either of these two running backs, but they are keeping Sam clean and allowing him the opportunity to step back there and really work. And what was just cool today to see, as it has been throughout this year, is this is not dink and dunk Sam. As I say, dimes all over the place, dropping 15-yard out route here, dropping another whole shot over the top to Jackson Smith and Jigba. And that's where I really feel like it kicked the momentum of this game off. It was a little tight, 6-3, and you've got that tight alignment set up with Jackson where he's technically an outside wide receiver, but you're putting those defenses in a predicament. And what we're seeing with these defenses is that they come down and start to clog the box, anticipating the run, especially early down, and then you see Jackson able to easily take the top off the defense. But that throw isn't just about completing the throw there. That's also a throw about not putting it back on your guy, back here, where he's got to slow down and then catch it, putting it out in front of him so that he can catch it purely in stride. And it's the thing I'd ask you to really pay attention to with Sam, is not just the accuracy to hit the man in space, is that he's hitting a lot of times these guys in the right spot to allow him to catch it and get it right upfield, so that when you hit that bomb over the top, it's not just you hitting the bomb, it's also him able to get right down the field and go grab that touchdown. But a major play there as far as shifting the momentum in this game, giving Seattle that lead that they could then start to kind of run away with and add on and tack on at that point and then lean down on into the second half. But wow, how tremendously Sam Darnold played today, and only on the back of 29 passing attempts, kissing up to 300 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He's had 4 games this year with multiple touchdowns thrown, helping you, especially not just over the top on the deep stuff, but when you do get down in the red zone, being efficient in that manner as well. Not just a volume base, this production he's doing. He's doing it with a compressed amount of throws from other quarterbacks in this sport. And I think that it does stand out to you too, that they're giving him a lot of freedom in this game. It really was cool in this, because you were thinking with Jacksonville coming in, they're going to go to 4-man fronts, drop to depth, because that's what they've done throughout this year. You also were aware of the fact that a lot of teams have stacked the box on you pretty consistently throughout this year, whether that's their nature or not to start this season out. They're doing that, I think, partly to kind of counter Seattle's condensed splits that they're working off of offensively. You do this, we do that, you do this. So you got this little tete-a-tete going on just a bit here now. So now you give Sam the freedom. Hey, you're going to walk up to that front. You see 5 men down the line of scrimmage. You see a 3-4 look. Audible to our pass play here. Audible to play action. You see the lighter box. Go to the run. Again, the run didn't have as much success in this. There's a lot of explanations for that. We can dive and dip into that. I think a lot of it does come down to some of that just congestion, and there being so many bodies down there, it gets hard to run when that's the nature of things. Certainly there's room to throw out some blame for guys like linemen running into each other on a 4th down run, as Charbonnet saw happen in front of him. But the problem doesn't come down to the backs. Let's just make that clear. It's neither Charbonnet or a Walker problem, as I've said multiple times over. It should be something that gets better with time, I'm hoping. You never can tell with this type of stuff. But a good job offensively from Sam to really get things done, despite not everything working perfectly in his favor at all times. And Jackson Smith-Njigba continues to look like a star for the position, and not just a star for the position, but dare I say, do I dream? Am I going too homer here? The best wide receiver in the National Football League? It would appear to me, I believe he's on pace for almost 2,000 yards receiving at this point if he continues at this pace. And it was a day where he just did it all again. He was getting open short. He was getting open intermediate. He was taking the top off the defense once again, as he seemingly has done every single week of this NFL season. And he was doing a lot of that work once again from the outside, including getting that big 61-yard play in this game, which really helped to set you out in front. He has been the full meal deal as a wide receiver for your Seattle Seahawks. He is playing like the best in the sport, on pace for an all-time type season. I don't know if he can continue it, but I do know that as this is going to go along, you're going to see those defenses shifting more attention to his side of things, and that should open things up in other places for other players who haven't had as much of an opportunity to feast. A guy like Cooper Kupp has made the most with the little bit that he's had thrown his way, not because Kupp doesn't still have more to his game, but as much because you've loved targeting JSN because it's been so effective, and also because your passing attempts have been brought down a little bit. But as those double teams slide that way and you get the one-on-one opportunities and the bigger holes in the zone for Cooper Kupp to take advantage of, and then even an AJ Barner coming through with another big game on his side of it, wasn't often targeted again. Another guy that's got to kind of pick his moments at times because he's not the number 1 option, maybe not the number 2 option, maybe not the number 3 option. But when you do target him, he makes the most of it, including that 61-yard run and catch, which closed this whole sucker out. Wide receivers are doing what they can with the targets they're given, but I think you still have a really good stable of pass catchers that all work well together. And as that attention starts to shift towards JSN, I think they're going to be even more fruitful for you down the line. The running backs did fine in this game. The yard per carry average is not going to show that they had a really great game, but this is again something as a commonality that we've seen where you're getting an extreme amount of stack boxes against your Seahawks. You had a team in the Jaguars today that like to run a lot of 4-on-4 stuff and trust that front 4 to get the job done with the 2 linebackers. And even they were crushing it up around the line of scrimmage to condense things that goes outside of their general nature. So the word out on the street is Hawks are going to run condensed splits. stack the boxes on those condensed splits, blitz at a little bit of a higher level on that. That's at least the book on this team and how to sort of go at us. Seahawks offense is finding success against it, so it doesn't exactly seem to be a book that's like, here's a rule of thumb that will be undefeatable against the Seahawks team. And one that you wonder if down the line, maybe some of these defenses will start to pull off a little bit of that heat up at the line of scrimmage to ease that back a bit here, to try to clean up some things on the back end, especially if you're going to start to slide some double team coverages over Jackson, Smith, and Jigba's way. But these running backs are still very good here for Seattle. It's just that there are no holes. There's too many blown assignments at times in the run blocking game, but there's a lot of reason to believe down the line that should improve with time, as it's a heavy detailed centric run game thing. So it's going to take a little bit more time for, I think, that to develop, as opposed to this passing attack, which I think had better parts and pieces set up for you to be able to hit the ground running on that side of things when it comes to the offense. When you do look at this game from a standpoint of your special teams, Dixon punted wonderfully, right around, I think, the 50-yard average mark. You again defended the kickoffs really well. Jason Myers has got that great knuckle ball, which is really messing up these kick returners. Myers made all of his kicks, which was great to see. A very, very good game for your special teams, but they have been holding up their end of this bargain here throughout this season. And just one of the reasons that your Seattle Seahawks team is going to be flirting up there as one of the number one DVOA teams in the NFL coming off of this week. So a sound team victory on the road. Hard to go get this against a team that had only one loss coming into this game, against a team that came down from behind against that Kansas City team last week. So it's not an easy team here in this Jacksonville team, a team that's better than they've been in recent years. A lot of talent on that squad. You had to go take this win. You made adjustments to go get it. It wasn't them just falling flat on their face, but Mike McDonald specifically recognizing things he needed to do defensively to make adjustments, to find some answers, to help out some backups so that he can put them in a better position to find some success. And those guys and those backups were able to take advantage. So let's build upon this. Heading on now to the Texans next week on Monday Night Football, then to the bye week, and then a lot of intrigue as to whether or not the Seattle Seahawks will be active at the trade deadline. But a great win. Keep the momentum going. Let's keep stacking these wins up and see where this wild season may go. My name is Brandon Kane. This is the Hawks Nest. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe. But beyond all that, don't you ever forget, go Hawks.